Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Attention Shift podcast. Before we get into the pod, we need to talk about how the fan landscape is changing. According to the Financial Times, time spent on social media peaked back in 2022 and has been falling ever since. But if social is in decline, how are you going to stay connected with your fans? That's exactly why at Display we launched the Anonymous Fan Index. We brought together the leaders of sports business to identify the biggest gaps in fan understanding and a clear path for ensuring you stay connected to your audience. Welcome to The Attention Shift, a podcast where sports media gets debated like a VAR decision. Passionately, chaotically, and with none of us fully agreeing on the outcome, right?
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Attention Shift podcast. I'm Jo Redfern.
I'm Lee Radburn.
I'm Ed Abbas.
And today we're doing something a little bit different because we all watched a clip of Jameela Jamil recently on Romesh Ranganathan's show talking about second screens, and it sparked a heated debate. So first of all, we're going to play the clip.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's something called second screen viewing, right? So it's a directive that's being handed out by big studios to filmmakers.
Please, this sounds like what I'm really hoping it isn't.
It is exactly what you probably think it is.
This is something that stands up to...
Which means that you have to acknowledge that people are on their phones the whole time they're watching telly. So you have to simplify the plot so that they'll be able to follow along while they're browsing on their phone. So that's why you'll notice now in random, like in TV shows, even with good actors, they're saying really obvious things about what's happening. They're laying out the entire plot line and all of their emotions and motivations. Like the language has become really bait and on the nose. And that's because they're being told, the writers, that they have to write in a way that someone can carry on with doom scrolling or shopping online while following it in the background. So nothing can be too complex, nothing can be too high end. It has to be like we are purposefully dumbing down content, and that is leading to a less nuanced, less interesting, less thoughtful society.
Okay. I'm going to kick off. Did you know there's something called second screen viewing?
Who knew?
Second screen revelation.
Whoever would want to work in that?
Okay. Initial responses to that, because we've got lots to say about this. What about you?
Well, for fuck's sake, as I said, the idea that we have to dumb down the actual content because someone is on their phone, like they're on the phone anyway. I don't understand the mindset of that, and ultimately it makes for far worse content, which makes you be less interested in watching that actual content. It's the opposite effect.
I completely agree. It's like, for years, you've had people in the house that go off and make a cup of tea while still trying to listen to what's happened in Happy Valley. Or you've got the kids kicking off, or you're cooking their dinner. I mean, do they think that there's not been distractions to watching TV for the last 30 years?
Or reading a book while they got the TV on in the background. People have done that kind of stuff before. It's not like suddenly because the telephone's there that they're doing something. They still get distracted by it. You'll be having a conversation with the person you're watching it with as well. I'm amazed that this is what commissioners in legacy media have realised this is the solution to short clips on social.
It's really not a solution, is it? No. Come on, Lee, I know you've got
I was going to say, I would argue that my wife still would ask me what the plot is going on.
Even with all of that
even with
she'll kill me for saying about exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm sure it happened the other day. What's going on with this?
But she's got more important things to think about.
She's got games to be playing on her phone now, much more engaging. I mean, it's crazy, but I don't think I think it's not just a movie and films problem, it's a sports problem that we are also trying to... we have these general opinions of attention spans and, Gen Z only want highlights, or people only want to watch this type of content.
Okay.
And it's...
Let's dive into that, because that's one of my favourite soapboxes to climb on, as you know.
Go on then.
But, I mean, we've said it a gazillion times. Yeah. Attention spans are not shorter. What's happened is that interest spans have contracted, because when we were kids, there wasn't much content, so there was plenty of attention to go around. And now that's flipped. Yeah.
Everyone remembers 20 million people watching snooker.
Exactly. But now we've got the situation's flipped, where content is almost infinite. Therefore, there's not much attention to go around. Or there is, but it's become scarce. That means we're much more selective about the kind of content that we give our attention to. This feels like a bit of a convenient get out to me.
It does feel like a get out clause, doesn't it? It's like,
I feel like this is commissioners going, oh, well, it reads as really patronising to me.
I've commissioned some research, so I know that's what I need to do. So I can't lose my job because ultimately I'm following the research.
But it smacks as patronising because it assumes that people are getting dumber. No, they're not. They're just being much more discerning with where they spend their attention. That's on you, not on your audience. But also, it's basically done to kind of shore up what they do, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's to shore up TV. What Jameela Jamil was talking about is a way to shore up TV, not figure out how you might then articulate your stories and your content across both of those screens. You're assuming the second screen is being used in a way that is not compatible with the story you're trying to tell. Well, what if it was?
Yeah. Well,
No,
I was going to say, like, it's, everyone always assumes that, Gen Z only want highlights, but, they're quite happily binge Netflix over a weekend, spend hours on Discord, and, everyone seems to be going to, or sport particularly is trying to go down this TikTok style. Well, let's just copy what TikTok does, making things snackable, and it's actually not. It's what the reason TikTok or short videos work is because they're engaging. They tell a story, they have an emotional reaction, but they do it in a very short window. They cover all the things that you should be trying to do as sport or as film or whatever.
But that's not to say that you want to do that all the time.
No.
I mean, there's a reason that 3-hour podcasts are doing really, really well. People do like deep dives into things, and young people particularly, they'll have watch lists that are 8-9 hours long. If they're really into a subject, they want to go in and they want to swim around in it. They want to absorb everything around it. That is incompatible with this, young people only want highlights. Rubbish. And it is rubbish. It's claptrap.
I've had a similar conversation with like Tony Pastor, the founder of Goalhanger, about their Rest is History podcast. It's the biggest history podcast in the world, and actually the demographic that listens the most is 18 to 34, and I think they listen on, he'll be able to correct me on this, something like 30 odd minutes they'll listen to a podcast for. Now if they weren't interested they wouldn't listen to it. So this idea of younger people don't have attention spans is quite frankly, it's ridiculous.
And this, going back to what Jameela Jamil was saying about TV writers having to signpost this kind of constant exposition. I'm doing this, I'm going over here. I mean, that gets boring really, really quickly. Even looking at some of the comments on that post, people were like saying, and that makes me want to turn off. Yeah. So hang on, she's purporting it as a solution because people are second screening. Yet one of the first comments is, that makes me want to turn off. That tells me that that's not a solution at all.
But also you're going to be replaced by AI even easier. If you're just going to signpost what you're doing all the time, then ChatGPT could do that for you.
It's literally what we used to do in kids' TV. That's how you construct kids' TV, particularly.
But that's fine for younger.
Exactly. I think in preschool. Yeah. I mean, that is literally how you would set up a preschool show, particularly if you were educating them. Tell them that you're going to teach them something, teach them, and then tell them what you've taught them. That's almost what she's saying.
I mean, that's Sesame Street, isn't it?
That's not going to work for a 30-something person who's like watching TV of an evening. So I can't bring myself to agree with it. I think it's a massive misdirection, and somebody somewhere has read the wrong piece of research and is now changing how TV is being constructed off the back of it, when there's a much smarter way to do it. How would you use second screen? Or how do you use second screen, and where do you think it might be better, or how do you think it might be better used?
I think it's context, right? I think some shows have a, we work with I'm Slow to Get Me Out with the after show that they do, where the viewers can send in voice notes of questions and observations.
That's a great use of
that makes sense for the context of that particular show. And actually, and it's been great working with them over the last couple of years, because they realised actually a voice note rather than just a text message actually gives emotion. Much better. The delivery of so they get fans sending in jokes. It just brings the whole thing alive, and I think also it gives a connectivity to the guests as well. They feel like, I think you as an audience member, you feel like you're part of that. I think it's probably the closest thing I've seen to how a YouTuber streams and connects with their audience, where everyone feels like they're part of it on TV. And it's been so simple how they've done it, and it just works really, really well.
And it's really effective and plays into what we've spoken about before, and you talk about a lot, is this participatory relationship with media that we tend to think belongs to creators on YouTube. But what you've just shown is that actually it works really well in reality TV, doesn't it? Because you normally have those after shows, the Bake Off extra slides. But actually that is a way to use TV well, embracing the second screen, not necessarily the dumbing down and the signposting of what's happening on screen.
But that's what Mark does, right? On his watch-alongs, right? In essence, it's a second screen experience. You probably are watching the game the live game somewhere yourself.
Right. Well, it's the second and the third.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got the game on, you've got him on, and then you're potentially using your phone as well to do stuff as well, and talk to your friends about maybe what he's saying, or actually interact with that too.
And it's not anything new, right? I mean, come on. We were saying just before we started recording, if you're watching sport or you're watching your team play live, you've been looking at your phone since we've all had phones, because you're looking at what else is happening in the league, how the league tables.
Yeah, who's the other scores?
Yeah, what's the league positions? How's it changing on a Saturday afternoon? So it's not as if dual screening is new. But I
don't know where they're getting the research from, though, that tells them this, because, I mean, there's research that King's College have done as well, where they've disputed the accuracy of attention span shortening. Like you said, I think we're just living in a world with more choice now. And ultimately, how do you win through on that? Well, you make sure what you do is born out of more quality, ultimately. That's the only way I can think of improving that. Or unique and an experience. Because ultimately, a YouTuber just starting out could argue that, it's not necessarily a quality production in terms of how quality production would be viewed normally, but ultimately it is an experience, and it's something that people can't get elsewhere. Hence why people flock to it and have that experience with Mark or someone else.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? We're not losing attention, we're losing imagination. We're just not, where's the creativity? And I think that's where content creators have been so good at this. Like you think, to your point, Joe, it's like, what do you do with second screen? Well, I will check my fantasy football. If I'm watching a match, you see a goal, you try and watch the highlights, or especially if it's an interest, if you hear it's a good goal, then the first thing you do is look it up in the highlights, wherever you get it on your social.
Well, there's two motivations, isn't there, for defaulting to second screen. It's either to enhance your experience, what you've just said. You need some other context and some other information to make what you're watching feel better or immersive, or what you're watching is shit.
Yeah,
and you're bored.
Yeah.
Really? So it's beholden to us, to creators, to sports, to think about how you do it to enhance it. On my other podcast,
one of the many,
was interviewing a producer of TV dramas a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying how he's now obsessed with vertical drama, short form snackable, which is exploding at the minute. Everybody's getting into the vertical scrollable drama game.
Just it started to change.
But he was, we were talking about, he produces high quality scripted drama for TV, but there's no reason that whilst he's filming his scripted drama for TV, you couldn't be producing a companion bit of content that is maybe a couple of your main characters. There's a bit of a side quest or something that you could produce whilst you're filming the main content that could sit alongside on your phone as that vertical drama. And at the same time, you might be, there's something happens to this character in one of your episodes, but at the same time, you're looking into what got them there or a backstory or something. That's a really interesting way of thinking about second screen, not taking away, but enhancing. I come back to something that James Cameron said about Avatar as well. He was saying if he was making those again today, he wouldn't be thinking about his movie. He'd be thinking about what's his 8-hour epic, his 2-hour movie for theatres, his TV show, right down to his 1-minute TikToks and his vertical drama, because that is the opportunity for all of these multiple screens, not to think about them as being dividing attention. How do you elevate it?
But also that proves, how old's James Cameron now?
Goodness.
In his 70s?
Yeah.
Been around forever.
So age is not a monopoly on knowledge of the audience, right? Like ultimately he's someone who understands the audience and understands how to make content that's right for the audience. And look, whether you want to sit through Avatar or not is a different point, right? But the point he makes is totally valid, because you should be making the content to be consumed in lots of different ways, and ultimately the short stuff's going to signpost the longer stuff. Like I said, the stuff you're talking about there is a report from back in 2019 that Statista did as well, where they were saying that 68% of people are researching plot lines, actors, and more when you're consuming content. What did Amazon Prime do a few years ago? You can stop the video, X-ray, you can see all the information you need. They're not necessarily scrolling away from the thing they're watching. They're maybe just going deeper on the thing that they're watching.
Well, like, who was that actor? I
do all the time when I'm watching. I'm like, all right, who's that actor? What have they been in before? Save that. I want to rewatch that.
Yeah. But you made me think of an interesting point there, Jay. Like, if you watch some certain crime dramas that are like NCIS, and they're across like 5 different ones, and they do a crossover episode, like you won't watch the crossover episode, and then they jump across to what's happened, like that filler bit in the middle where you're like, oh, what that catch up moment of where's it happened? Like that's kind of where you could you want to do it, isn't it? These sort of second screens where it's like, oh, what's the last time the score happened, or what's the last time played, like instant recap. I think Premier League have done a pretty good job doing that recently, actually. But I think the next phase of this, and we would talk about this off screen, is that you've got those inaudible sounds that can trigger responses in your phone, and no one's really capitalised on it.
Yeah.
Why hasn't that kicked off?
True, because it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Right. So I think now we should head to the hot takes huddle.
Let's go.
And actually see if we can say this succinctly.
Say that 5 times fast. Welcome to another exciting hot take huddle.
Another disastrous edition of hot take huddles.
And this question's a good one.
Ed's dual screening. Wow.
God.
Looking
On
up
an
some
episode
answers.
on dual screening.
Why do I always get the one I don't want to do?
So, this week's question. Will, are you ready for your 30 seconds? We'll see who's doing which one first. But this week's question is it more valuable to keep someone's undivided attention for 5 minutes, i.e. full focus, or their attention for 30 minutes while multitasking? Who wants 5 minutes? Who wants 30 minutes?
Well, Joe's already told me I'm taking 5 minutes. So.
Given what I've spoken about in this episode, I'd be a bit hypocritical if I went the other way.
Chivalrous I am, obviously. The lady always gets to choose first.
Okay. Well, do you want to go first, or do you let Joe go first?
Go on, you go first.
Give it a go. I mean, yeah.
Right, Producer Will. Have we got our minute? Is it a minute these days? 30 seconds.
I'm just going to talk really slowly.
Yeah. For 30 minutes. Or for 5.
30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, so your 30 seconds start now.
So I think it's important that you keep someone's undivided attention for 5 minutes, because ultimately you want them to be really focused on the experience that you're giving them. Because ultimately, if they're multitasking while it's going on, what are they actually going to remember? What are they actually going to take away from it? Why have they got a reason to even come back and watch it again? I mean, it makes no sense to me. Now I'm struggling.
Sorry, I've got 6 seconds. 5.
That's all I've got. I'm sorry.
I like that. I think
all.
that's fair.
Sorry.
That's fair. That's fair.
Shocking.
Joe, can you do any better?
I don't know. It's too much pressure for me.
She better do after picking the one she wanted.
Okay.
All right, ready?
You ready, Will?
30 seconds. Ready, Will? Let's go.
I think it's more valuable to have attention for 30 minutes while multitasking. But I want to caveat, depends what you're trying to do. What is your value? If you're trying to embed into someone's daily life and be useful, then potentially if you've got content across a number of platforms, then you could have their attention split across a number of platforms, but you could be really then embedding in their day-to-day life. If you show up and you're useful on a 30-second walk to the bus stop, that's equally important as spending 5 minutes
Okay, well,
fully
that was quick.
absorbed
That was
later.
I
mean, to be fair,
caveats.
Yeah, I mean, apart from the caveat, she did do your argument for you. To be fair, as per caveats.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
But undivided attention is also really
I mean,
useful if you're trying to sell something.
I mean, I'm sorry, Ed. It's got to be Joe. You know, because she did your argument as well. I feel by saying, undivided. Yeah, well done.
And
Joe.
I lost last time anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that was exhausting. Right then. Okay, so I think we all agree the second screen's not a threat, right?
No.
So
No.
anyone knows any commissioners that you can introduce? We'd love to have a chat. So it's an opportunity, but it's about how the second screen's being used. So 3% of Americans regularly use a second screen while watching television. However, that second screen how it's used varies massively depending on the context of the content they're consuming. So, for example, sports viewers are highly engaged across devices. So, look, if you think about the NFL, right, when people are watching that, which I've massively got into this year, pick the Jets for no reason I can't understand. I pick the worst team in the league anyway. But I know in America, lots of people don't even necessarily have a team, but are glued to the NFL because of fantasy, right? So they're all on their phones as the game's happening. It's updating live. Context is everything, right? So maybe the solution's not about simplifying television, but it's actually pointing to how do we put triggers in there to actually do things that enhance the experience we're having.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think NFL's a great example because even for years before RedZone came out, the reason NFL and RedZone came out is because there's still fans who would have multiple TV screens on, having all the different games at one time, and they still do.
That's the reason they did it.
And that's why, and it's actually true user behavior. So that's beyond the second screen. Now that was just because I wanted to watch all the matches going on concurrently, and that's why the RedZone came about. And now, like you said, people want to deep dive in. You know, like you said, I think it's 83% of Americans second screen whilst during TV. 77% of fans look for extra sports-related activities. That goes up to 88% if it includes tablets. So, it's by providing that right information. But I do think, like we kind of touched before the hot take huddle, which is, I do think there's an opportunity about this technology that's been around for a long time, where you're putting these sort of inaudible sounds to trigger things within.
Are you on commission?
I should be.
You invested in a company.
If anyone wants some consultancy.
But
I think that's it. I think that's the next step, is because we've talked about before in previous episodes, we've talked about hyper-personalization, right? Yeah. Which is providing you a second screen or a screen experience that has, if you're into the stats, you get all the stats, right? Or if you're into this, or if someone scores a goal, then that's we know you've got the home kit, so we're going to, try and give you a discount code for the next thing. But I think that's some things that's about that sort of community moments, which is actually triggering engagement, because if you are in a lull, and F1 F1 was probably one of the first to really get in the graphics, which was in 2 laps lying time there might be an overtake. Well, if you, rather than just being a graphic, if you could trigger something on a second device, that makes someone look up, because it is a long.
But also, I think that's why in F1 as well, why you're seeing the creation of all these creators now are using real data and doing live stream watch-alongs to the race itself, because F1 don't use that much data as part of the race itself, because obviously their focus is on what's going on in the cars, not the data support. And I guess it's probably a worry, and I don't know this for certain, but I bet this is probably borne out by the broadcast that are taking it, that they're worried that if they do too much data, it might switch off the audience.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can pretty much predict the winner. In the first 3 laps, if they really go.
Exactly, they don't necessarily want to tell anyone, right? But clearly, but it's, you've seen how, and look, and it is a second screen experience, right? Because ultimately, yes, you've got the race, and all these people then are taking the data, using the data, and creating this experience to give you a much more in-depth view of what's going on in the race, to make your own conclusions about who's going to be the winner, even though everybody already knows. So yes, it can be used in different ways. Is that just? Do you think? Is this just is it a sports thing? Or actually, can they? I mean, because look, the example I gave about I'm a Celebrity is a relatively simple one that can use voice notes. When you've got a studio with guests, it's easy to ask questions, right? How do you do that for other forms of TV?
I think it could work across any number of genres and forms of entertainment. I don't think it's that hard to do. And as you've said, the technology already exists to do it.
Yeah.
So why is it not being used effectively? I think one of the issues is because most people in TV still only want to think about that method of delivery, TV. They work in TV. No, they don't work in video or social video, or they don't work in social media. They work in TV without understanding that if you are managing IP or you're telling stories on TV, they have to exist across all of those other platforms as well. And that includes the phone in the hand whilst they're watching it on the biggest screen in the house. Right. So then how do you make it additive? How do you make it elevate the experience rather than take it away? Well, it could be deep dives on characters, a little subplot. It could be, you really like that dress on that woman in White Lotus? Oh, look, here you go. Here's where you can buy it. I mean, it wouldn't take much for them to, I'm going to be crude, take their heads out their ass and figure out what the need state of their audiences are, because that's what you've just articulated. You've got some people who watch Formula One who really want data. You've got others who just want to see what's going on in the pits. That's to a large extent what a lot of creators have done. Because I've said before, my son used to turn the commentary off football on the TV and have Goldbridge on his phone because he related to him more. So he elevated his experience by turning off the sound there and having it on his phone and listening to Goldbridge. It's the same principle. You just got to think about how you're going to elevate your experience for your audience, and then figure out how you do it on that second screen.
Do you think? I mean, I've always thought, like, worked in and around legacy media for a long time as well, and obviously you've worked in a lot longer and done a lot more than I have. Do you think sometimes it's an element of, people have been in it for a number of years, pass it down. The new people who come into it are still relatively young, work in a certain kind of way, have had a certain kind of education, don't necessarily care about what the audience think or want. Mm-hmm. It's an art form I'm making. I don't want someone interfering with the art form that I'm making. It's irritated me on a regular basis because I've sat in those studios watching, thinking, this is terrible. Why are you making this like this? Why do you not, you've just had an opportunity to really hold to task a politician on something they're saying.
Oh yeah.
You're using your presenter to do that, who ultimately doesn't care because they're all in cahoots together because they all know each other and they're all mates. where actually you can use the audience to really drive the point home to this particular politician or guest, and they just don't do it. And I'm starting to see a little bit now. Send us in your email. I'm like, okay, right, fine. Like,
By the way, send us your emails.
please send us an email. I don't look. You've worked in and around more of those kind of producers than I have. Like, I just don't see it evolve. Other than this is the evolution that the thing is right, which is dumbing down the content.
I think some people that work in legacy media and they're producing high quality drama for TV, they don't really want to sully that art form too much by figuring out how particularly younger audiences consume across those platforms, like you say. But I do think there's a competency gap as well, in that you've got senior folks who 10 years away from retirement, and this is just too complicated to learn anew, so they don't bother. What's interesting is having just come back from MIPCOM in Cannes, where it was all about YouTube, all about creators. You've got really legacy studios, like Banijay and All 3 Media now, big producers that are beginning to acknowledge that creators have stolen a march on them in terms of disintermediating the broadcasters, growing a relationship with their audience, taking knowledge and intelligence from their audience in form of feedback and iterating their content accordingly. And now
they fail fast, right? Like if something's not working, like right,
fail fast.
And they just
and TV producers, traditional ones, don't like that.
No, so it's always
you get it right first time.
It goes out, and then the next series, then you wait till it gets commissioned. Were the viewing numbers all right? Well, it reached the number of viewers that we expect in that slot. Right, we'll renew it then.
Yeah.
And so tick the box, like we did that.
Yeah, and it's not. Back to your context point, doesn't take in context. Your metric is a very finite metric, and if you hit that, great, series 2's commissioned. Yeah. So, but what was really interesting is to see. I mean, couldn't believe that it was 2025 and it's the first time YouTube has had a meaningful presence at MIPCOM. I mean, YouTube's 20 years old, so
that's the point.
It's changing. It's changing, but arguably it's slow.
Funny, when we talk about like the pace of innovation, kind of like pace of innovation is really slow.
The pace of innovation is actually the pace of innovation is fast. The pace of adoption is always slow, and I think that's the problem. I think the problem is actually new things come along like TikTok, and everyone sees the engagement, and they go, no one's got the attention anymore. They just want short clips because TikTok's super popular, and they kind of miss the point, which is what we're fundamentally saying, which is actually it's just an engaging story that kind of does it in a very short, concise way. But if you extend that over a longer period of time, it would also have the same impact. And people are just not willing to adapt. I think you have to let people tell the stories and fall in love. Don't give them the tools, which what we're talking about. The second screen is the tools to tell the story deeper, to allow you as a fan to fall in love more. Right? That's what we're trying to do.
Is there an element that, because of the lot of these production companies that are making this content for legacy media, are used to working in a certain kind of way and certain kind of budgets, that if you start asking them to make clips and stuff like that, like the budget goes up and they're not given the budget to do it. They don't think about making it different. Like they just go, we make like that, and I need another team that's saying, you've got to read all of this, and the budget's not there.
Yeah.
So it's not us. It's the media company.
Yeah.
The media company don't give them the budget.
I think we're possibly coming out of the other side of that, given that its creators have shown how you can do it.
Yeah.
You look at how much creators are producing for, and okay, they produce in a different way, but they produce a lot cheaper. Now, you borrow a little bit of what they've done and their thinking, and you can make content either cheaper or for the same amount of money, you can make a huge amount of it. Like I was saying, the producer that I was speaking to, you could be filming your scrollable vertical drama whilst you're filming your 4K HD TV content. It wouldn't take a huge amount of, bit of extra writing and some second kind of shooting. You could even do it on a phone. But the actual incremental cost for what would then really elevate that experience on that second screen while you're watching it on prime time is worth it. So I think we're coming out of that. And I do think it's creators who've really shown how it can be done. And now we've got to the stage where big producers and broadcasters are.
So, what's our final takeaways on this? What would be our one? Obviously, I think we all agree that you shouldn't be dumbing down anymore.
Dumbing down is just stupid and it's folly, and I think that'll bite TV writers on the ass. I think stop assuming that second screening is taking away attention.
Yeah.
And it's a minus, where I think if we start considering it as elevates and it adds, then you can have a load of fun, whether you're in sport, whether you're in drama, whether you're in politics. You could have a load of fun with how you use that second screen, either to upsell, to engage your audience. I mean, really, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
So why is it being perceived as a negative? I don't know.
Yeah, I think accept that the audience are going to be searching to do things whilst your content is airing, live streaming, however you want to term it, and make companion experiences that go in line with that content that's out there. So when they go searching for things, you're there, you're omnipresent, ultimately across multiple platforms. Like, it's often the content that's going out is not like, once it's going out, the people who have made that original content are not like, they've done their job. Like, as far as they're concerned, it's there, it's happened, and it's almost been forgotten about because it's gone out. It's like, no, it's happening right now. That's the time.
Yeah.
I saw some stat ages ago. I think something on the lines of, it was something like 52% of people who watch content, who are watching the content, are watching it live. In that, like, that's when they're engaging with your content, when it's literally on going out in that particular moment. So for, like, basically, if your content's an hour long, 52% of your audience are only engaging with your content on the hour it's going out. So you've got to be present in that moment.
And sports has that luxury, right? Sports is always the one thing that you can turn up every week and it's going to be live, and you can capitalize on the opportunity. And I think it just kind of goes back to what we've said in previous episodes, which is create those, like you said, create those immersive options for people to engage in the way that they want to engage, whether it's stats, social, user-generated content. Collect that data, hyper-personalize it, and allow people to join in those experiences. Create unified experiences with fans.
It's time to wrap up. Interestingly, I was just thinking then, we're dual screening. Well, we're talking, we're all dual screening, and I've resisted the temptation to pick this up and do a bit of searching too. So I think that's a good way to end. Just acknowledge that this is a behaviour that is there, so we might as well use it to our advantage rather than demonise it. Okay, I think that's a good place to wrap up. So thank you for listening again to this episode of The Attention Shift. I've been Jo Redfern.
I've been Ed Abbas.
I've been Lee Rapon. Still.
And
lean forward.
You can engage through your second screen with us if you like. Pick up your phone right now. You can email us if you like on hello@attentionshift.media. And we'd love to hear from you, wouldn't we?
Absolutely.
We would indeed.
Listen again soon.
Cheers.
That's it for this episode of The Attention Shift. Remember to like and subscribe and listen to us next time. And do let us know what you think. Email us at hello@attentionshift.media. That's hello@attentionshift.media. Goodbye.